Call to order the Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, December 20th, 2018. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Harlan, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Commissioner Knobloch. Here. Commissioner Heikkila.
Here.
Commissioner Schmolke.
Here.
Commissioner Stevenson.
Here.
And Chair Schwartz.
Here. Okay, our first order of business is to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Stevenson, second by Heikkila. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Agenda's been adopted. First order of business is the approval of our minutes from our November 15th meeting.
Chair Schwartz, I move that we approve the minutes from the November 15th meeting.
Second.
Motion by Knobloch, second by Schmolke. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. First order of business this evening is planning case 18-22, a land use amendment at 11790 Exeon Street, SPL Holdings. Mr. Harlicker.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners and Chair, if we get the PowerPoint presentation up. This evening, there are really two applications that are for the same piece of property. Item 18-22 is a land use amendment, and item 18-23 is a corresponding zone change. What I'd like to do is do an overview for both of them at the same time, and then the Commission would make separate recommendations on each item. This is the property here. It's bounded by Exeon. Got Sand Creek to the north, townhouses to the south, and Northdale Boulevard here. Property is 3.4 acres in size and was originally part of a larger planned unit development that incorporated this whole piece here south of the creek and west of Exeon. That PUD was approved back in 1987. It included 6 3-unit buildings. The 3 units that were built here were constructed in 1989 as the first phase of the project. The project never went beyond that. In 1999, the 6 undeveloped parcels, which incorporate this parcel here, went into tax forfeit. In 2006, Anoka County combined the 6 lots into one and offered them for sale. The applicant recently bought the parcel and is requesting the zone change and the land use amendment to allow for a future development on the site. Again, the parcel is 3.4 acres. It's currently undeveloped. There's frontage on Sand Creek here. There's also floodplain, and Coon Creek Watershed District has a 100-foot setback from the creek. There's some rolling topography and sloping down towards the creek, which really limit how the property can be developed and where the development can go. This is a current land use map. As you can see, it's currently high-density residential, same as this piece here, with park, recreation, and preserve along the creek, and a mix of moderate and high density to the south. And then just the other side of the creek is low-density residential. Current zoning of the site is high-density residential with planned unit development overlay. That corresponds with the original PUD that was approved back in 1987. To the south is high-density residential and again, low-density residential north of the creek. Because of the environmental constraints of the site, proximity to the creek, floodplain, wetlands, topography, most of the development of the site will have to take place in this area here. So it really limits what you can do. It's not really suitable for high-density residential development. That's why the applicant is proposing moderate density with the hopes of coming in and with a townhouse development on the site. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the proposed land use amendment based on that the site conditions do not allow for residential development at a density allowed with high-density residential land use designation. And secondly, that proposed amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan in that it allows a residential development that reflects changing lifestyles and ensures that infill development is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood in scale and design. And with the zone change, staff is also recommending that the Planning Commission recommend approval of that based on the fact that the proposed zoning to moderate density residential is consistent with the proposed land use designation of moderate density residential. The proposed rezoning is compatible with the adjacent land use and zoning. Times and conditions have changed so that a reasonable use of the property cannot be made under the current zoning, and that the proposed zone change would not have an adverse impact on the area. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Mr. Roger, Commission, any questions from Mr. Roger? Is there anything the petitioner would like to add? And can we hold one public hearing for both of these at the same time?
As long as it's declared that.
All right, thank you. At this time, I will open a public hearing in planning cases 18-22, the land use amendment, and 18-23, the zone change for the property at 11790 Exeon Street, SPL Holdings. Anyone present wish to speak at the public hearing? Anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearings. Commission will take the land use amendment case first.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Knobloch.
I have a question for Mr. Harlicker. I'm wondering if it's been addressed, but road access to the future site in development, like for housing?
Commissioner Knobloch, that'll be decided when they do come in with a development proposal.
All right.
I mean, general access will be off of Exeon, probably somewhere in this area here. But the exact position hasn't been determined yet.
And Commission, anyone wish to make a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Heikkila.
in planning case 18-22, I move to recommend the approval of the proposed land use amendment from high-density residential to moderate density residential based on the proposed two conditions.
Second.
Motion by Heikkila, second by Stevenson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This is a decision by the Planning Commission, and recommendation by the Planning Commission, excuse me, and will be taken up by this council, City Council, at their February 5th meeting. Next, Commission, we have the second case, the zone change.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Schmolke.
In planning case 18-23, the planning, I move to recommend approval of the proposed zone change based on the following findings. The proposed zoning to moderate density residential consistent with the proposed land use designation of moderate density residential. The proposed rezoning is compatible with the adjacent land use and zoning. The times and conditions have changed so that a reasonable use of the property cannot be made under the current zoning, and the proposed zone change would not have an adverse impact on the area.
Second.
We have motion by Schmolke, second by Knobloch. Any further discussion?
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Knobloch.
On the introduction to the city council, is that February or January?
The land use is February 5th.
Okay,
This one will be the January date if we pass it.
thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion carries. It's a recommendation by the Planning Commission. In this case, the zone change will be introduced by the City Council at the January 15th meeting.
Chair Schwartz?
Mr. Harlicker.
Yes, just a little explanation on the dates for everybody. Zone changes require 2 meetings. The first meeting, the council introduces it, and the second meeting, they actually consider approving it. So the first meeting in January, they'll introduce this item, and then the meeting in February, they'll consider both the zone change and the land use plan at the same time.
Thank you. Okay, our next order of business, planning case 18-20, a preliminary plat, Stronghold Edition, 601 Coon Rapids Boulevard, Sather Bergquist. Mr. Harlicker.
Yeah, Chair and Commissioners, this is a lot split. Currently, the parcel is 1 lot. It's located at the corner of Foley Boulevard, Coon Rapids Boulevard. There is a Culver's restaurant and a Holiday convenience store currently on the site. What they're proposing to do is split the lot in 2, so Culver's will be on 1 lot and Holiday will be on the other lot. There are no proposed physical changes to the site. Here's the preliminary plat. The green is the, open space. This is the property line right here. It kind of splits the buildings in 2. The site was approved by the city with a site plan and conditional use permit in 2000. The parcel is 2.9 acres in size. Culver's, which is located on lot 1, is 1.4 acres, and the Holiday Station on lot 2 is 1.5 acres. Access and circulation and everything will remain as it is today. 2 lots comply with setback requirements, impervious coverage requirement, and there is no minimum lot size requirement. There is some discussion with respect to parking. Culver's lot has 44 spaces. Holiday lot has 29 for a total of 73. Total parking requirement for the site, it was 62, so they do have exceed the number of parking overall. However, the way the site is laid out and the way the lot line goes, Culver's has 99 seats, so they're required 50 spaces. Since they have 44, they're 6 spaces short. Code does allow cross-access and parking to accommodate shortages of parking on 1 lot where it can be made up on the other. Should the commission recommend approval of the plat, one of the conditions is that they record a cross-access and parking easement that must be approved by the city in order to address the parking shortages on the Culver's lot. With that, staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plat with a condition that all comments from the city engineer be addressed, all comments from the Anoka County Highway Department be addressed, and a cross-access and parking agreement be approved by the city.
Thank you, Mr. Harlicker. Commission, any questions? Mr. Harlicker. Commissioner Heckler.
Mr. Harlicker, I'm just kind of wondering what prompted this? How did this come up, or why is it?
The applicant is in the audience. Maybe he can address that. I assume it's just so each lot can be sold off and each business will have its own lot. But he can clarify that.
Okay, just kind of wondering then why it wouldn't have been done that way originally when they were built.
Yeah.
Would the petitioner like to come up and say a few words? Please give your name and address for the record.
My name is Jim Hannay. My address is 1381 Janet Avenue in St. Michael, and we're the owners of the two lots. Basically, the only reason we're splitting them up is because there's two separate businesses, and we wanted to have each one with its own lot. We're kind of going through with our attorney for setting up our estate and stuff, and he said that that's the way we should do it, so that's the only thing that prompted it for us. I mean, it was, back when Lee had done this and set it up, he said you could go either way, and we just decided to do it as one when we did it. But, and there was cross-parking easements and all that was already set up when we first did the lots, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right, we will have a public hearing on this matter, and at this time I will open a public hearing in planning case 18-20, preliminary plat for Stronghold Edition, 601 Coon Rapids Boulevard. Anyone wish to speak at the public hearing? Anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Commission.
Chair Schwartz?
Commissioner Schmolke.
I guess in this case, I'll still move to recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the conditions as stated in our packet.
Second. Motion by Schmolke, second by Stevenson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This is a recommendation by the Planning Commission and will be heard by the City Council at their January 15th meeting. And next case, planning case 18-21, a site plan for a 6-unit townhome development at 2403 109th Avenue, Grandmore Homes. Mr. Harlicker.
Yes, Chair and Commissioners. The applicant is proposing a 6-unit townhouse building at this lot here. It's currently a single family. It's on 109th. Savas here going out to Coon Rapids Boulevard. We've got Hoover School here, apartment complex, 2 apartment buildings, a group home and some townhouses on the end with single family lots across the back. Here's a site plan. The 6-unit building is going on the lot. Units will have 2 stories with no basement. Each unit will be about 2,100 square feet, have a 2-car garage. Project has a density of about 6.7 units per acre, which is within the 4 to 7 unit per acre density. The lot is 8.95 acres in size. You can see here there's a 25-foot setback requirement on the sides here where they comply with that. The edge of this wall is set back 53 feet from the property line. The edge of the paving is 44 feet. And then on this side, it's 26 feet to the edge of the paving. Each unit has a driveway that's 21 feet wide or 18 feet wide by about 25 feet deep. Room enough for 2 cars as well as a 2-car garage. There are 3 common parking areas, which is required by code. The area in back here are patios. There will be privacy fences between each of the patios to give the residents some privacy. Access is here off of 109th. It's in the approximate location as the existing driveway, which is right here. This is the grading plan. It's a fairly level site. The site will be graded so that it'll kind of flow overland along here and collect out here and be transported off-site. Here's the landscape plan. Across the north here, you've got a mix of overstory trees, the larger circles, some evergreens, and then some larger shrubs underneath. Along this side here, adjacent to the school, you've got again, some larger shrubs. I believe they're cranberry bushes that'll form a hedge along this property line with some arborvitae on the edge of each of the fence to provide some more screening and kind of highlight the end of the fence. Across the front here, as you can see on the site plan, there's 3 larger open spaces in front of the lots and then some smaller strips between 2 of the driveways. All those areas will be landscaped with overstory trees in the front yards, mix of shrubs around the entryways, and perennials in the strips between the driveways. All the landscape areas will have to be irrigated, including the narrower strips between the driveways. Across the front, again, you've got a mix of overstory trees and some larger shrubs. And then along this property line here, adjacent to the driveway and parking spaces, mix of ornamental trees as well as some shrubs that'll be planted mixed in among them. And this is what the buildings will look like. As you can see, they've got a break in the facade. These are dormers with gables on the end that'll stick out from the edge of the buildings. Those will be board and batten above these, located above each of the garage doors. Over the entryways, they've got kind of a portico that sticks out. These will be shaker siding with wood posts coming down, and then the base will be stone to match the stone base on the front of the building. And then they've got some awnings over each of the garage to again provide some more relief and interest to the front of the building. These are the rear elevations. Again, you've got some eyebrow gables along the roof line to break that up, and awnings over the patio doors with the fences that'll be consistent with the larger ones that are over the garage doors in front. Sides, pretty typical side of the buildings. As you can see, this is the roof line that extends over the front entrances and provides some relief with the stone base. Here are the awnings over the garage and the awning over the patio doors. Here are some colored renditions of what it will look like. A mix of gray and blue up in these pieces here with white garage doors and wooden entryways with the wooden posts. The applicant does have material board with colors and samples that he can show the commission. Bulk of the siding is vinyl, again, with the board and batten and shake siding in the gabled ends. Again, this is the rear elevation with the vinyl lap siding, privacy fences, and the awnings over the patio doors. We did get one comment from a resident, sent in an email. Their main concern was traffic generated by the project. City engineer did take a look at traffic and offers the following comments. The type of housing proposed will generate approximately 40 trips per day, which is a relatively minor amount in comparison with existing traffic levels on 109th Avenue. Most of the trips generated from this site will access 109th, which is here, and go out to Xavis and out onto Coon Rapids Boulevard at the signalized intersection. Very few of the trips generated by this site will go out this way and down 108th. With the construction of the Hanson Avenue Bridge, 108th will be a dead-end street, and they'd have to go then south on a service road and to Hanson at an unsignalized intersection. They didn't see that this proposal would be generating enough traffic to warrant a full traffic study, and that was how they addressed the email we got, and the resident was Sandy Carter, who submitted the email. With that, I'll answer any questions, and the applicant is here in the audience to give a presentation and present the exterior materials, and they can probably elaborate a little bit more on the interior of the site layout, as well as whether it be, I know one of the other comments in the email was whether it was going to be owner-occupied or rental units. Staff is recommending the commission move to approve the proposed site plan with conditions that all engineering comments be addressed, park dedication in the amount of $8,160 paid prior to the issuance of a building permit. That's $1,360 per unit. Compliance with Title 11. All landscape areas must be irrigated, including the areas between the driveways, and a homeowners association agreement must be approved by the city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Harlicker. Commission, any questions for Mr. Harlicker? Mr. Harlicker, I do have one question. If you could pull up the rear elevation. First, if you go back to the drawing of the rear, it shows the dormers on the roof line, but then you go to the colored
They're not on there.
there's nothing
They're
there.
conditioned.
So which way is it?
I'll let the applicant speak to that. We just
All right.
got these today, so.
Commission, anybody else have questions for Mr. Harlicker? Petitioner, like to make your presentation, please.
I'm Ben Meintz with Grandmore Homes. Yeah, I brought some color samples. If you guys want to pass them around, I can certainly send those by.
Certainly.
Yeah, I'm here to answer the question on the dormers in the back. Yeah, we had planned on, because Scott had mentioned adding the awnings over the patio door, so we thought maybe we would eliminate those dormers. If it's we can certainly keep them on if it makes a difference one way or the other. Why don't I just jump right into some of the exterior features?
Certainly.
You guys want me to pass these around?
Please.
Okay. I'll raise them and leave by. Got a whole bunch of stuff. This is the exterior stone that we'll be putting on the fronts. That's the actual color and the shakes that we'll be using on the porticos. I don't have a sample of the board back, but I do have the color. This one here, the one that's taped, is the color of the board back. color? The vinyl lap siding that'll be wrapping around, so it's the pewter, it's actually the double 4-inch is what we'll be installing on that. These are the windows we'll be installing. These will be the entry doors, the one that's circled there are the entry doors that we'll be using. The 431 is the garage door style that we're going with. This is a shingle sample, shingles that we'll be installing.
On the vinyl siding, what's the thickness that you're gonna use?
I don't remember. It meets the specification we looked up in the code.
Code
for what it
requires
is.
.44.
Right.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Stevenson?
I would just note for the audience's benefit, as we're looking at these things, the only thing that really jumped out to me, I guess there were two things that jumped out to me. One is the color on the board and batten on the top doesn't, to me, look much like what's depicted here. It looks more like a gray. I don't know if other people had a different impression of that, but since
I would agree.
our audience doesn't have has the benefit of looking at these beautiful pictures, but not the benefit of actually looking at the samples that were passed around, it appears that the board and batten on the top is more of a gray than to me in the picture it looks like a blue. Other than that, the other difference I noticed is the garage doors had with the style with the little windows up at the top. If you can picture that, where in the picture they're flat.
And they won't have, the windows are an option. That picture just, it shows it as an option, so we won't have windows.
Oh, okay.
On it. Yeah, they'll just be solid doors. Yep.
Never mind, then that's accurate. What we saw was not accurate.
And my thoughts on that rear roof line, I believe it's just way too plain if there's nothing up there.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
too long and straight. It looks like a warehouse or a barracks.
Yeah, the original, when I talked to Scott, he wanted us to add some awnings over the windows. The original idea with the dormers was to shed the water away from the doors. So we're kind of doing that twice, but we can certainly add those small dormers back in. That's very simple.
So, something to break up the roof line.
Yeah.
Chair Schwartz, I have a question.
Commissioner Knobloch?
On the rear of the building, on some of the images and on one of the diagrams, you have a privacy wall
Yep.
in the back.
Yep.
Is that part of the design, or is that an option, or is that intentional as part of your?
Yeah, originally when I talked with Scott about it, we realized there's some need for some privacy. We were thinking maybe just doing a row of tall arborvitaes, but after talking with Scott about it, it was kind of decided that the privacy fence would be a better option.
Okay.
And those will all be maintenance-free vinyl fences as well.
Okay, good.
Mr. Schwartz?
Commissioner Heikler?
I'm just wondering, are the patios, those are, it may be in the specs, but I missed it. Are those concrete or are
Yep.
they?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Chair Schwartz?
Commissioner Schmolke?
So will each resident be responsible for their own trash removal bins then too, or is there?
Yeah, that's what we're planning on.
And is there, so where is the plan for them to place their containers, and is there room enough access for the garbage trucks to get in there and out of there?
Yeah, they'll need to place their bins inside the garages, is what we.
So on collection day though?
Yeah, they'll have to bring them out to the end of the driveway, you know, where the driveway comes in. So
Sure.
their individual driveways, I'll have to roll them out to the end.
And then the question is, then will the garbage trucks have sufficient access to get in?
Yeah, they should be able to just drive right in.
And to be able to get out?
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
they should be able to just drive right in and then back straight back out.
Okay.
Pick up the trash, yep.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Stevenson.
It was mentioned by Mr. Harlicker a minute ago that there had been an email question about whether the units are going to be owner occupied or rented out. Before you answer, I want to, just for people in the audience to know, the Planning Commission deals with land use issues, so whether or not it's owner occupied or rental is not something that the commission can use to decide whether or not to approve the project. But I did want to ask that question since someone in the community wanted to know the answer to it.
Yeah, we're planning on owner occupied. Yep, we're not planning on renting them out.
And other than the 3 common parking stalls, is there no parking going to be posted on the driveway other than the 3 parking stalls?
Yeah, correct, yep.
Because it looks pretty narrow and tight. I wouldn't think you would have room to have any other cars parked.
I would agree with you.
All right, Commissioner, any other questions for the petitioner? All right, we may have some more later.
Sure.
For now, thank you.
Sounds good.
All right, at this time, we do need to have a public hearing on this matter, so I will open a public hearing in planning case 18-21, the site plan for a 6-unit townhome development at 2403 109th Avenue. Anyone present wishing to speak at the public hearing, please come up to the microphone, give your name and address, limit your comments to 5 minutes.
I am Debbie Foss. I live at 2400 110th Avenue Northwest. So if you could bring up so I am directly behind, so my lot line, so I'm right here
This
next
one?
to Hoover School. Yep. So first of all, we had heard that it was an 8-acre lot, you had said?
No, 0.89.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. And my concern is, one of my concerns is the way the building is gonna be built, the headlights, when they come in to their place, those headlights are gonna come right into our house and my neighbor's house. That, we already get headlights from Yukon that come into our house through the yards. Another thing is that we're in the Orrin Thompson single-family homes. We all have one-level homes. I don't want people looking in our backyards. I've been there 19 and a half years. And also, we live right next to Hoover Elementary School. I've already been to a planning commission meeting years ago when they redid the parking lot because of all the parking traffic. The people that park for the schools, people that park in the park to go to Hoover Elementary, Hoover Park, and we got that expanded out. Now we're gonna have more parking, and then we've also got the concern about the children and the people who walk in the park. You know, I mean, I honestly do not want this type of building built in our residential neighborhood. I really don't. Our lifestyle has been a quiet, it's a great neighborhood to live in with the park right there. And we've got great neighbors. I don't want people looking in on us, in our backyard. And again, the traffic is a concern of mine along with Sandy's. So, and we've got, you know, I wish more people were here from the neighborhood, but it's us 3 that are lots that are here to represent this. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Chair Schwartz?
Mr. Harlicker.
Maybe to kind of speak to the headlights. As the cars would come in here, there are 3 evergreen trees planted along the edge of here. And these shrubs here are medium-sized shrubs, so they'll get 4 to 6 feet high and provide screening at least through the summer and early fall. And then they've got a mix of overstory trees too to help soften the building's view from the neighbor's property. And
May I say something? Currently, right now, there are huge lilac shrubs that are all in the back of our lot lines. There are some trees, and the headlights still come through. So shrubs aren't, in my opinion, it would have to be a 10 to 12 foot wall for us not to see those headlights. Shrubs and trees are not gonna work. And you could come out and see all the big lilac shrubs that are currently there.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Scott Nisbet. I live at 2410 110th Avenue Northwest, which would be the other side opposed to the fosses of the north end of this property. A couple issues that I want to bring up. We bought our home in 2015, and we ran into trouble with our appraisal because of the lot that's in question. Our appraisal came in $9,000 under the asking price just because of the zoning. And this was, at the time, it was zoned for 2 single-family or up to 6 townhomes. So this has a huge potential for both myself and the fosses that are next to us to lower our property values as opposed to the rest of the neighborhood because of this density. The other concerns I have, it's been told that there's been a traffic safety recommendation made. I wonder about the validity of that because with the Hanson Boulevard change that's being made, you're taking a huge corner of that property and funneling all of it to Coon Rapids Boulevard and Zavis being the only protected intersection. Otherwise, there's going to be limited access at Hanson. There's limited access that is unprotected at Thrush. I think that's gonna make a lot more traffic there. Leading to the developer's question about the garbage cans, I think backing a garbage truck through 150 feet through a housing complex is a horrible idea. And that only happens when some poor kid gets run over, something like that. I think that needs to be rethought out. I'm just, in general, the north elevation of the homes shows that there are windows that will be looking right into our backyards. And regardless of the tree cover or anything else, you're still gonna have that issue. We're still gonna have headlights shining in. That's gonna look right into the backside of our house. The driveway that's proposed will end up staring right into our backyard and into our home. So I can't understand that this would be a good idea for this neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Sandy Carter. I have already been in touch with some various people with the concerns about the traffic. I've lived in my home at 2420 110th Avenue Northwest for over 50 years and have enjoyed the fact that the 2 lots behind my neighbors and ourselves have been single-family homes, big units. They have provided a buffer and safety from both foot traffic and vehicle traffic. I would like to point out, in talking about the traffic on 109th, and 109th, by the way, is barely a 2-block distance. There are currently Boulevard Villa, if you are aware of Boulevard Villa, it is a massive apartment complex on the south side of 109th. There are 4 additional apartment units, all accessing 109th with their driveways and garageways. There are 3 businesses that access 109th. On the far west end of 109th is a residential treatment facility. That has a massive parking area, garage area, driveway area. On the corner of Yukon and 109th, there is a 6-unit townhouse complex. Their garages and parking areas all access 109th. Hoover School on the very west end of 109th has an intersection with 108th, which is not a true 45-degree angle intersection. It is a very difficult area to maneuver with trucks, parents dropping off their kids. 40 comings and goings is going to add a lot of traffic to an already very overpopulated, to me, it seems like it's already very congested. I'm wondering, there is an additional larger lot right next to this, and I believe our neighbor will talk about that. To me, there may be a reason why those 2 big lots next to Hoover School have remained as they are. For safety, for privacy, for, I would hope that if you aren't familiar with the area, you might take a little drive out there and take a look at what it already is, and adding to it is not a good idea. For our personal reasons in our neighborhood, as well as for the school district, the city, the businesses, the people that live in the residential treatment facility are all walkers. My neighbors can attest to that. They walk. The kids, yes, there are sidewalks, but they're on the opposite side of this site. Enough said. I am very concerned, not only for us and our privacy and our safety, and our lifestyle, but also for those things that I just mentioned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name is Stan Champ, and I reside at 2421 109th Avenue. I am right next door to this property in question. And when I first received the letter, I came to the city office here and I talked to this gentleman. And he did state to me at the time about the size of this structure that's going up, where he thought it was a little bit, not so much that it was so much that it even was that's being placed where it is. And oddly enough, there's one at the opposite end of 109th Avenue as it is already. I've lived in my home at this residence for 30 years. I lived in Coon Rapids 50 years to this month. And I'm very much with my neighbors here. I'm opposed to the structure going up. This structure faces my property, so I've got six residents, 6 structures, or six picture windows looking at me all the time. The size, more than anything, obviously, affects me. And to me, it's so out of proportion with the neighborhood. I mean, I know that this is a zoned multifamily here, but it's not monstrosity, though. And I think that's what these buildings are. I knew the property needs to be developed at some point in time. I knew those folks that were in there quite well. And I know that they want to build something there, whatever it may be. But not so much, though, that's what's in there, what's being proposed right now, though. I'm just not in agreement with it. You folks are sitting up there. You're smart people. You wouldn't be there if you're not. But just flip this thing around. Just imagine if this was over in your neighborhood. You folks, I'm sure you all have fine homes. But just imagine a couple of lots, though, empty, and some dude comes along with deep pockets, wants to build a house from end to end, twice as high as anything else in the neighborhood. Be honest, I mean, you wouldn't like it. But this is reality for us. We live here, and we don't feel that it fits our neighborhood. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else wish to speak at the public hearing? Seeing none, close the public hearing. And commission discussion.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Knobloch.
Has there been any approach to the school district in regards to traffic and development patterns? Because I know we've had discussions with developments. Was it at Northdale in the last year?
Yeah.
Mr. Ehrlicher?
Commissioners and Chair, not specific to this project. They did receive a public hearing notice, so they were made aware of the project. We did not hear from them.
Okay. Has there been also, another question is, has there been any analysis, to your recollection, Mr. Ehrlicher, recently in regards to traffic development, traffic patterns on 109th and 108th
There has
specifically?
not.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge, anyways.
Final. So School District 11 has been notified of this hearing.
Correct.
Does the commission see any benefit to making another approach to having their input? If they have any development plans in store? Because I know Anoka, Hennepin School District 11 has been on a redevelopment tear the last few years.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Stevenson.
I do know that Hoover is it this year? Maybe next year. They're going to be a STEM magnet school, so they are doing some stuff there at Hoover. But I think that the school district has some pretty good lawyers that watch this stuff pretty carefully, and so I suspect that if they had thoughts about this, that they would be here tonight. They certainly have made their views known in the past when they have concerns.
Yes, they have.
May I address the chair?
Public hearing is over, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Well, there was a question that was,
Public hearing time is over.
the school district chief.
Ma'am, the public hearing is over.
Didn't know about this.
And commission, anything else?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Stevenson.
Mr. Harlicker, I'm wondering if you can tell me how this proposed development compares to townhouses generally in terms of its height.
It's fairly typical of the row-style townhouses. He's got floor plans, you know, they've got living space behind the garage, and then the upstairs, I believe, are mostly bedrooms. So these windows facing across the parking lot are likely bedroom windows. There aren't any, the picture windows would be the ones facing the back over the patio.
And likewise, in terms of the space that the building takes up on the lot, is that typical for this? When you say it's a typical height, is it a typical size building for townhouses?
I think that's accurate, yes.
And you covered this a minute ago, and certainly in our packet, but the proposed use here is permitted by the existing land use and zoning for this property, is that correct?
Correct.
We're not doing a variance or any change to what was allowed here under the city plan and
No,
zoning.
that's correct.
And Mr. Harlicker, do you have any knowledge of how long this property has been zoned moderate density?
I do not.
But it's been
it's
some
been-
time.
I don't know the date that it was, when it switched from single-family residential to moderate density residential.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Schmolke.
So if this has been asked and answered, I apologize, but I just want to be really, really clear. Because of the comments that were raised, there was concern about the residents of this structure having visibility into the neighbors' properties. But if I'm looking at the layout, actually, if it's correct that the front of the units actually face the parking lot of Hoover, correct? And the driveway side, which I believe then is the garage door and the, it looks like to be like the master bedroom, is what overlooks the neighboring residence, correct?
Correct. And then on the end elevations,
And it's the end that
we've got, I believe it's probably
So we
living
have
space
two residents.
there,
where-
and then upper level bedrooms and bathroom windows.
Sure, so we have two resident rooms that would have that visibility. And then it is from the lights, then it's because the direction of the driveway against the back of the lot then, where the concern is with the headlights, correct?
Yes, and,
Right.
you know, they did make an attempt, you know, if the commissioner would like, they could add
Yep.
extra screening
And extra
along there and
screening.
make the trees oversized to start with. to
Is
address
there,
that issue.
is there a possibility of putting up a fence at the end of that driveway? That's where I was going to, is just something that would block, at least take the brunt of the headlights off. I mean, right at the end of that driveway to put up some sort of a barrier fence that would prevent that.
There's nothing that would prohibit that, no. They
Could we make that a
we
requirement,
could
is
make
what I'm
that a
asking?
condition, correct.
A condition.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Stevenson.
I would even go further and ask for a privacy fence
Along the property. I was
along the property line.
minimalizing,
I feel like
but-
that's actually a very reasonable,
The north property line or?
the north, I'm talking about the north property line. I
Yeah.
think that the headlight concern is something that it should be, and I was gonna ask the petitioner if they would be open to doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, I think we can, you know, whenever there's a motion, we can add in a condition that they construct a privacy fence along the north property line.
Any height requirement you're thinking?
8?
You know
That's
what,
a
it's because of the
permanent
distance, I guess I'm
10.
not quite sure, the distance from the end of the driveway to where that fence
Yeah.
would be, you've got the projection of the headlights, so, and I believe they said the residents are all single level, so, whatever appropriate, height then would help to break that would be the request,
The max that the code allows,
correct?
is that
Correct.
accurate?
Yeah.
But I will
Seven.
say, though, there was comment about the shrubs that are back there right now, the lilac bushes, and if those are planning to be kept, it also seems to me that they appreciate those, the brush right now, and so putting up a permanent fence there takes away from it. So I want to just, that's why I was coming up with the idea of just at the end of the drive at least, so that it breaks that up. But if the commission thinks that having a fence along the entire border is a better option, again, considering how it will help to break up the headlights, I think is the consideration.
Yeah.
Just a thought. I'm trying to respond to what I've heard here tonight. Thoughts?
Well, I think the fence along the north property line would make the most sense.
Mr. Chair, I would, yeah, if we, I respect what you're saying about preserving some of the foliage here, but, you know, my concern is if you just block the end of the driveway as the cars turn
Turn
into the home,
Forgot
it's
about
gonna flash into the resident particularly closest to the school. And so I think you really have to go along the whole line if you're gonna protect that. And I mean, I heard a number of people talk about just general privacy concerns as well, that perhaps can be mitigated somewhat by a fence, which it sounds like the applicant is open to doing. So it seemed like a reasonable compromise to me to do the whole.
Then height, the only thing I would say is it needs to be a sufficient height to really then block that light, just because of the distance from the end of the driveway.
Yeah, I agree.
And the light.
So a fence along the north property line, 8 feet?
Well,
Whatever, I think
whatever.
Mr. Harlicker suggested the
Yes.
maximum of what the code allows.
Okay.
I don't think that the code's gonna, someone had suggested a 10 or 12 foot fence. I don't think that the code allows that, but.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Schmucki.
How about in terms of, again, if these are going to be privately owned, sharing responsibility for the maintenance of that driveway that goes in front of the driveways then? So whose responsibility will that be? Will there be any sort of a, like, is there going to be an association? Who's going to, okay, that would have to. Oh, thank you, thank you. I missed that. Thank you, okay.
Just careful, it's no removal question.
Yeah.
I got one too.
Okay. Commissioner Heikela?
Yes, I'm wondering about the west side then, and the gentleman who owns the property there, and about his privacy as well. You know, on the, back to it, where the patios are on that side, if that's something that needs to be
Along
addressed.
this side here,
Where the patios are.
The west side.
along the school.
Yeah.
That's the school
The
line.
school is on the back side.
The school's on the right of our,
Oh, that's
School
right.
is to the
Okay.
right.
All right.
School is here, and then the single-family residence is over here.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Knobloch, you got a question?
No, I'm fine.
Oh,
That's where all the cranberry bushes are.
yeah. Mr. Harlicker, how did we came up with the area is only .895 acres, correct?
Pardon?
The lot is .895 acres,
Correct.
so just shy of .9. And code allows up to a maximum of 50% coverage by buildings, drives, and the paved driveways.
Correct.
So we're right at that line.
Right at that, yep.
Okay. And Commission, anyone else have anything for discussion, or someone possibly willing to make a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Stevenson.
what I will say about this, these cases are always a bit challenging because you hear from neighbors who don't want to see this type of development in their community. The problem that I see as a commissioner is that I don't see a basis in the code, in the ordinances and the land uses to vote no. The property is, zoned for this type of development. The land uses for this type of development. We get a big packet of information that staff prepares where they compare all of the design against the various requirements of our ordinances and code, and it meets all those requirements. So my view, and I think legally, I don't want to get a legal opinion, but we can't just vote against things because we don't like it. We have to have a basis that it doesn't meet the land use requirements. That's what this commission is about. So I'll be voting yes for this because I think it does meet the requirements of our code. And it's not that I am not hearing what people are saying about not wanting it, and I understand that, and I hear that, but that isn't a basis for me to vote no on something like this in this setting. And frankly, my view is if we did vote no, that the petitioner would have every right to challenge that, and they would probably be successful in challenging that because they have property rights to do with their property what is allowable under the law. and under our code and land use. So that's my explanation for why I will be voting the way that I will be voting. And I'll make a motion unless anyone else wants to
Go ahead.
speak. So in planning case 1821, I move that the Planning Commission approve the proposed site plan with the conditions stated in the report and the additional condition that well, I'm going to add two additional conditions. An additional condition that the applicant have the dormers on the back of the building that were indicated in the plan but not in the design. And the second condition that the applicant construct a privacy fence at the maximum height allowable under the code along the entire north property line of the property.
I'll second.
Motion by Stevenson, second by Schmolke. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Heikkila.
I also fully understand and appreciate the fact that you all came and expressed your opinion, and you desire your neighborhood to stay as it is. And but unfortunately, as the codes of the city are, and as this commission is responsible to do, we have to follow the codes and the guidelines. And therefore, I too will support the building.
Mr. Schwartz.
Commissioner Knobloch.
I agree with Mr. Heikkila and Mr. Stevenson, well put. The only thing left to say it is that the next option is, if you want to have your voice and your opinion heard, is to go to the next city council meeting and to address Okanagan Independent School District. They have monthly public meetings that you can address your concerns as well. So just as that is additional option to our citizens.
Thank you. No further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This is a decision by the Planning Commission and can be appealed to the City Council within 10 days if anyone so chooses. Thank you. Good luck. All right, our next case is Planning Case 18-24, an ordinance amendment allowing allow single-family homes in Port Evergreen. Mr. Harlicker.
Yeah, Chair and Commissioners, excuse me. Earlier this fall, the council asked staff to research the possibility of allowing single-family homes in Port Evergreen. This stems from a group that owns 9 lots in the area, Coon Companies. They've been trying to assemble property probably for the last 10 years in order to put them together for a larger project. They have been unsuccessful in those attempts, and they have decided to sell off these lots individually as single-family homes. There are 19 lots in the area, generally bounded here on red. It's north of Coon Rapids Boulevard, north of Springbrook Drive, and 94th and Flintwood, this area in here. The properties in blue are owned by Coon Companies. The yellow one is owned by the city. The remainder are private property owners. There are 2 vacant lots, one down here that's owned by Coon, and then the city's lot is also vacant. One of the reasons for looking at this is that now that these lots are going to be sold as single-family lots, if they're a non-conforming use in the port, there's very little that residents can do to improve the lots. If they wanted to put any sort of addition onto it to increase the value of the property, they couldn't allow it because it's a non-conforming use in the port. By making these lots permitted use in the port, if we could get the PowerPoint back up, these lots here could then be improved. They could put additions onto the house. They could add garages, decks, and generally improve the value of the homes. In the past, since they are non-conforming, property owners have been reluctant to do that, so they've been gradually falling into disrepair. The city has also made a major investment a couple of years ago with replacing the street and putting in new curb and gutter. So the city has an investment in this area also. To address that issue, what staff is recommending is that the single-family homes in this area here, it would exclude any properties that front on Coon Rapids Boulevard to be allowed as a permitted use in Port Evergreen only. They would be subject to the following. Only allowed on lots without frontage on Coon Rapids Boulevard. They'd be subject to the general regulations found in 11-601 and the LDR2 zoning district standards found in 11-603. 601 are standards that are applicable to all residential districts. They're general accessory structure standards, driveway standards, junk vehicles, outdoor storage, things like that. Accessory structures are allowed per the LDR2 zoning district, and single-family dwellings allowed under this section are exempt from the regulations found in 11-903, which is the port section, and 11-1003, the River Rapids Overlay District. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Herlicker. Commission, any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Stevenson.
Mr. Harlicker, is this the area that we're seeing on the screen right now, is this the only area in Port Evergreen that could be affected by this language?
I don't have the zoning. I believe it is. Most of the lots front on Coon Rapids Boulevard. There is a lot on north of the 610 interchange there, but that fronts on Coon Rapids Boulevard. And then there's a very small triangular piece behind that. That's adjacent to a townhouse development. That would primarily affect this area here.
The reason why I'm asking that question is that, you know, as I understand the purpose of Port Evergreen, it's not really consistent generally with single-family homes. I understand the issue here is allowing the existing residents to be able to improve their homes, and I'm sympathetic to that and would like to allow that. I just don't want us to have unintended consequences in other portions of the city, or other portions of the port. And if we're confident that this is the only land that would be affected by this because, you know, you've got all the rest of the lots are on the boulevard or maybe too small to have a single family home on it to begin with, then that's fine, but
Real-time Q&A.
yeah,
Modern technology.
love it, love it.
Pull up the port section.
This is a first
Yeah.
for,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Thank you.
Now,
So-
the port section here is in purple.
Yeah.
This is the area that we're looking at. Here's 610. This piece here fronts on Coon Rapids Boulevard. There's a small rectangular piece here. What
about that area?
Single-family house on it. And then those are all the rest have,
Mr. Harlicker, what about the wooded area that I believe is continuously for sale,
In
right
where?
on the wooded area that's right on the corner of Foley and Coon Rapids Boulevard.
That would front on Coon Rapids Boulevard.
I could
This
front
piece
Foley.
here, could they? Yeah, but it's in the middle of a industrial district. It's not likely that somebody would want to put a house there. Would not be the highest and best use for that vacant piece of property.
So this would not, or stop though, or it would allow basically a single residence if we approve this. There, in these other areas, correct?
Yes,
So there's one
somebody
area,
could
the
put a single-family residence there.
Right, and then I see that triangle you were originally pointing out. Yep,
Right here.
right there. That as well. And our reason again initially for not wanting this? What were we trying to do?
What am I concerned about? What are they concerned about?
What were they concerned about, right?
The homes that already exist, because they are non-conforming uses, they're not allowed under the port, they can't.
I apologize. Originally, well, I guess I'm not sure how to ask the question. So we made this decision, we being the commission, the city, et cetera, made this decision not to allow the improvements, et cetera, at one point in time because of why?
When they created the port?
Yes, when they created the port, thank you.
I can answer.
Okay.
I wasn't around for that decision. I don't think that, well, my understanding of the ports is that the decision wasn't so much to make it so these houses could not be improved. That was likely an unintended consequence that Commissioner Stevenson is talking about. Because by creating a non-conforming use, you're just simply not allowed to alter the property in many, many respects.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Knobloch?
I have a question for Mr. Harlicker.
Can we,
Then to clarify.
before we leave though, can we button up what she was asking about before you ask a different question real quick?
Sure, it's the same topic, but go ahead.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry then, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
I think the idea behind Port Evergreen was to have more of a commercial industrial development.
I thought I remembered that too.
It's largely over industrial land. And so I think that's what Mr. Harlicker was just saying about the land on Foley, is that it wouldn't be the highest and best use of that land for it to be residential. It's not what was intended when the port was put in. The idea was to have a more planned development of this area that was focused on work. As I always have understood Port Evergreen is more of an industrial and somewhat commercial aspect, where we look at Port Riverwalk as being more of a residential area, and then you get up to Port Campus Square, which is supposed to be more of a mixed use, and then you get up to
Wellness.
Port Wellness, thank you, which is supposed to be more medical.
So in doing so, does this stop us from continuing with industrial development at some point in time if residents are putting, I think this is good, right? We want to have residents. We don't want to stop residents from being able to improve their property. That only adds to the value overall of the area as well, right? If you have an area that's in disarray, it lowers the value, it's less appealing, it causes other problems, et cetera. So I don't want to prevent that. I'm trying to think of what those consequences are, though, by approving this. What is at risk here, I guess, if we do this?
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Knobloch?
My question, which is a perfect segue to what you've both been discussing. The question is about, of course, land use and zoning, and I'm wondering, instead of us trying to make an accommodation or a variation for this area as part of Port Evergreen, is it possible that the other option could be under consideration, which is for the planning department and Mr. Harlicker? Is it an option for this section of Port Evergreen to be excluded, to be removed out of the Port Evergreen and put into the rest of the city that's perhaps not classified under the requirements of Port Evergreen, which you've said is more commercial mixed use?
Yeah, Commissioner Knobloch and
I don't know if that was
we certainly, that's an option, is to remove this highlighted area and take it out of Port Evergreen and make it an LDR2 zoning district. That's certainly an option.
That's the follow-up question is, what is the implication if that were to happen? Like,
It's a single-family residential district, just like
The
most
rest.
90% of the residential areas of the city.
Is
All right.
doing it one way versus the other easier? Which is easier to accomplish?
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Mr. Chair?
This was this is what internally and after getting some direction from council, this was the option that we decided on.
Commissioner Stevenson?
I would think that, I would think that maybe it's less desirable to rezone it, for the reason that if you were to zoom out ever so slightly from what you're looking at here, you've got 610 just to the north of this and 47 just to the east. The area is pretty isolated from other residential areas. It makes sense in the context of the port. One of the things that always troubles me about things we do in the Planning Commission is that we make long-term decisions based on the fact that, something hasn't happened yet. And it doesn't mean something won't happen, okay? So, just because we haven't, to this point, gotten the development that we want to see here, which is more of a commercial industrial development, doesn't mean it's never going to happen. And if we take it out of the port, that's kind of what we're saying. If you look at this from a land use perspective, this land is probably not what you would think should be residential. It's hemmed in by 3 very busy roadways in an area of the city that is largely commercial industrial. If we could wave our magic wand and make something go in here, it would not be single-family homes. We can't do that, but we shouldn't give up on the idea of it happening in some ways. I don't want my question about whether or not we're worried about other areas in the port to say that I don't think that we should do what the staff is proposing in the first place, because I think it's a reasonable thing to do that allows the people that live there now to improve upon their property until someday maybe we can build something else there. I just don't want to also open up, and I don't know, the port goes to the south of this, right, as well? I don't know if there's anything down there.
In this area here.
But that's
on
all,
Springbrook.
none of that could ever be. So really, we're just talking about a couple pieces of land over on Foley.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask Blair over there, we've got a condition up here, only allowed on lots without frontage on Coon Rapids Boulevard. Could we further define that? An area bounded by 610, 47 and Coon Rapids Boulevard?
I think the easiest way, if the concern is the lots that are on Foley Boulevard and Coon Rapids Boulevard, right? We're concerned about them calling their frontage Foley Boulevard. You just eliminate that concern and say Foley Boulevard or Coon Rapids Boulevard. Unless there's already a existing single-family residence on Foley Boulevard. Is there, Mr. Harlicker?
There is a single-family residence on this triangular piece back here.
It's
not
front,
on Foley.
But it's
Does it
been
front-
deemed uninhabitable.
But it's not on Foley Boulevard.
but it doesn't front Foley.
No,
So,
but it would fall under this because it's not,
Correct.
so
it
I
doesn't
think,
have frontage on Coon Rapids Boulevard.
right,
So then we reduce it down to just the little triangular piece that's up there. But that one, you just said there already is a single family?
There's a single-family home in a.
So this would allow
State of
them to make
disrepair.
improvements as well.
Yeah.
So us approving this would allow them to make improvements as well,
Correct, they
which,
could rebuild.
which by definition of
Or
this
somebody could buy it, tear it
request
down and put up a.
would be reasonable.
I'd also note
single
that
family.
that property is right where the city is hoping someday very soon there will be an on-ramp. Or an off-ramp, I guess, but yeah.
So Mr. Chair, can I ask one more question?
Well, Commissioner Heikler had a question
Okay, sure.
first.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, Mr. Harlicker, the houses that are being built on Coon Rapids Boulevard, I know the city bought up that property and held on to it for quite a period of time.
Yep.
Has the city ever pondered doing that in this area? as the properties become available, buying them and using it for a major project, because I also agree that it's not really set for single-family homes, in my opinion.
We have not. The active property owner in this area has been Gone Companies. They're actively purchasing single-family lots that come up for sale for the past 10, 12 years. The city owned one. I got one of these. I'm not sure how. It might have been part of a scattered sites project that we had.
I'm also wondering, maybe this is being asked out of sequence or but there's some talk about an apartment complex being built in that area.
That is the item next on the agenda, as a matter
Correct.
of fact.
And I'm wondering, in conjunction with that.
That would be this parcel here.
Yeah.
Yes, but what I'm getting to is that there is no park area for that apartment complex for those probably 200 children that will come with that apartment building, if it comes. So part of this area here that we're talking about, you could conceivably put a play area or a park for them.
In this area here,
Yes.
if we went and bought the property and tore down the house and...
No, I mean somewhere in this area, because if the apartment complex is built,
Yep.
where are those children going to? And I know, that's why I'm
The
saying.
current site plan has 2 playground areas built into the site.
I understand that, but very small, very small.
Yeah.
There's, maybe, if I could say what you're trying to get to, for this, call it a residential area, there's no neighborhood park.
Correct. There is not.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Schmolke.
So I think my last question is this. So I'm reading that it appears that this issue was actually brought up at a workshop. I'm still curious though, was there something else that was behind this that would help us in understanding what's driving this? Has there been a resident, multiple residents? Is it just Gone? Who is it that's actually bringing forth the request to being able to make improvements? And is it really improvements to the individual residents, or is it that it is to be able to do other things with the land?
No, this wasn't brought forward by any individual property
Okay.
owner. Gone has decided to sell off those 9 lots that they own. As independent single-family lots. They're not going to try to keep acquiring lots and get a larger buildable area there. When the council found that out, they said, all right, if they're going to put these on the market, what can we do to allow them to make improvements to the home and improve the neighborhood? So that triggered staffs looking at, all right, if we made them permitted uses, they could go ahead and they could make improvements to the property, increase their value, and thereby make a more stable residential neighborhood. That wouldn't preclude somebody in the future from coming in here and buying up some lots and putting an apartment in.
Correct.
If you were to take it out of the port, that would preclude any future redevelopment opportunities there, except as single-family residential.
And looking at some of the size and the shape of these lots, do you foresee requests for splitting any of these lots or requesting additional roadways, any improvements that way when we're talking about improvements? And is it doable?
It would be difficult because of the lot widths.
Sure. I want to make sure that we're just thinking of
For
all the
instance,
possible.
maybe you might get one of these corner lots that might be able to get split into.
But the two
but then
larger
you're looking at
ones.
the lots aren't deep enough, and
Yeah.
there's dimensional issues that would make further subdivision of the lots. I'm not going to say impossible, but
Absolutely.
difficult.
Absolutely. So it's all,
Yeah.
possibilities. I just want to make sure we wouldn't be setting ourselves up for more difficult discussions later on.
All right, anybody else have a questions for Mr. Harlicker? And we do need a public hearing on this matter. We'll open a public hearing in planning case 18-24, an ordinance amendment to allow single-family homes in Port Evergreen. Anyone wish to speak at this public hearing? Anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And commission.
Chair Schwartz?
Commissioner Schmolke.
In planning case 18-24, we recommend to approval of the proposed ordinance to allow single-family homes as permitted use in the Port Evergreen. I don't believe there's any conditions to go with that.
Just adding the Foley.
Just adding the Foley.
Adding
Thank you.
Foley to,
Second.
Motion by Schmolke, second by Stevenson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 3-2. Commissioners Heikela and Knobloch opposed. This is a recommendation by the Planning Commission and will be introduced by the City Council at the January 15th meeting. And on to our final case of the evening. Consider a resolution finding proposed TIF district is consistent with comprehensive plan. Mr. Harlicker.
yes, I will lose this area map up because the parcel is included in this map here. What the council is being asked to do is to make a recommendation, and actually it's a decision by the Planning Commission, to adopt Resolution 18-1 that includes a finding that modifications to the redevelopment plan for a redevelopment project area, number 1, and the tax increment financing plan for tax increment financing district number 133, that it conforms to the city's comprehensive plan. The property that's included in that TIF district is that site right here, bounded by 610 on the north and 47 on the south. The applicant is proposing a 184-unit workforce housing project for the site. All the units would be affordable to households earning 60% of median income. The applicant has requested TIF assistance from the city for the project, which meets the requirements for housing of the TIF district. And Planning Commission action tonight would, the resolution indicates that this proposed TIF district and modification are consistent with the city's comprehensive plan.
And Commission, any questions for Mr. Harlicker?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Heikela.
Mr. Harlicker, is it your understanding or do you believe that this project would not go forward without tax increment financing?
It's been, I wish Matt was here. It has been included as part of the discussion from the initial conversations with the applicant. I am not sure if project would move forward without it. It has been included from the initial discussions as part of their financing package.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I'm really been looking this over for a long period of time, and I'm just kind of not in favor of it, frankly, because first of all, 184 units apartment complex on that relatively small spot with no play area, no place for potentially a couple hundred young people to play or whatever. And I just think putting 184 unit complex in that property is not, in my opinion, the wisest thing.
Yeah. Commissioner Heikela and Chair Schwartz, they're not asking approval of a site plan.
All right.
It might be less than that. that the commission will review the probably early 2019, provided the city council approves the financial assistance. So what you're being asked to do tonight is the TIF plan consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. We're not looking at site plan issues at this point.
Okay, my apologies.
Anything else, Commission? All right, we don't need a public hearing on this matter. Anybody willing to make a motion?
There is a, I thought there was a public hearing. Okay. Excuse me.
So no public hearings necessary? Is that right?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
Just want to, before I make a motion, Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Stevenson.
I move that in planning case 18-1 that we adopt the proposed resolution finding that the redevelopment plan is consistent with the, or I'm sorry, that the, let me start over there. Well, it's not going to read, let me move that we adopt resolution planning commission 18-1, which finds that the modification to the redevelopment plan for redevelopment project area 1 and the tax increment financing plan for tax increment financing district 1-33 conforms to the comprehensive plan.
And a second by,
I'll second.
motion by Stevenson, second by Schmolke. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner,
I just want to be clear to in my own mind that we're not approving this project, the 184 unit project, we're only doing.
That's correct.
The conformity part, okay.
any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This is a decision by the Planning Commission. And moving on to other business. Since he's tendered his resignation, I want to take this time to thank Commissioner Stevenson for his 6 years of dedicated service to this commission. And want to tell him that we don't want him to go. That we, at least personally, I think he can do both jobs.
And raise a family. Well, Mr. Chair, I appreciate that very, very much. I'm still, still not going to stick around. Yeah.
Still not going to reconsider.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Well,
But I have really, really enjoyed serving on the Planning Commission, and I have very strong confidence in the people on this commission who will continue to do a great job for the city of Coon Rapids.
thank you for all your hard work. Mr. Harlicker, anything else under old business?
Construction has kind of slowed down a little bit, except on the Riverdale apartments. They're still going out there. Walls are starting to come up on smaller building, and they're working on the footings for what's called the East Building, the one closest to Northdale Boulevard. Next month is kind of a light agenda. We'll do our reorganization meeting, and there's a home occupation permit.
All
And we'll
right.
have 2 new board members next month.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Stevenson?
Mr. Harlicker, when, I know we know that, it's been said before, but the Riverdale Apartments, when is the expected completion of this phase of construction?
Really like to get it done as soon as possible. I think early to late fall. I think 2019 is they're still.
You think it'll be occupied?
Their
in
goal,
Late
yeah.
2019? Cool. Thank you. It's in my district.
All right. And we'll let you make your last motion.
Second.
Motion by Stevenson, second by Schmolke to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.